What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and I finally got my hands on the new HTC 10. In this video, I want to do a full comparison, comparing the iPhone 6s to the HTC 10 for any prospective buyers. I'm going to be covering everything from features to specs to details, cameras, power, everything. Now HTC hasn't done too hot in the past couple of years. Its M9 wasn't a huge success because it looked too similar to the M8. So HTC wants to differentiate this thing a little bit. It's got chamfered edges now. They made it a little bit more refined, but again, this thing still looks so similar design-wise. HTC just doesn't want to stray too far from their design, and I don't see why. It's a good thing to do different things. But anyways, I do like the design. It is now a unibody design, so instead of having the display and body be two separate sections like on the M9, it's now one piece. Overall, it's an effective design. It's certainly not as thin and sleek as the iPhone 6s, but in order to fit such a huge battery and a ton of features inside of it, the HTC phone did of course have to stay thicker. It's not too big, but it does compare to a 6S more than it would to a 6S Plus. The iPhone 6S is a lot smaller than this guy. So I've been using the HTC 10 for a while now, and I gotta say it's a very comfortable phone to hold, not to use. So it is wide, it is beefy, it gives you something to grab onto, and that chamfered edge, it really gives you some traction. So I do like that. However, because of that, the phone is wider, and having a wider phone means it's harder to access areas of the screen using one hand. Using the 6S, it's very familiar. Of course, it is more slippery, but being a sleek, thinner phone, it is easier to access more of the display using one hand. That doesn't make it ideal though. But overall, the controls and the familiarity of the phones is pretty similar. So going from one to the other, it's not like you'll be going to a completely different country. No, everything is still familiar. Now, the headphone jack being relocated to the top is an interesting design choice. Overall, though, buttons, everything placement-wise, it's all similar. Now, moving on to displays, both HTC and Apple stubbornly refuse to move on to OLED. So for now, we've got an IPS LCD on the 6S and a Super LCD 5 on the HTC 10. Now what the Super LCD is basically a thinner LCD module. It has a better defense against the glare, and overall it should actually have better colors and better contrast. Whether or not that's true or not, see for yourself. So I actually looked very closely, very carefully, and I did notice a few little differences, but these displays are more similar than they are different. So I would say that the iPhone 6s does have a little bit less viewing angle. So I actually turned these phones all the way, and the HTC 10 was a little bit more visible. Colors are a little bit darker, a little bit deeper. There certainly is a better contrast on the HTC 10. However, they're still not on the level that an OLED panel would produce. I certainly hope they eventually go there. So what is different, what's special about these phones? The iPhone has live photos and 3D touch. 3D touch hasn't been implemented by any major competitors just yet except Huawei. The HTC has micro SD removable memory, quick charge 3.0, and it's actually caught up to Apple in many ways. It now has a front-facing flash as well as a True Tone flash on the rear. So a lot of Apple-esque features have been implemented. So let's talk power. The HTC 10 actually has the Snapdragon 820, same chip that's powering many major smartphones in the USA, including the Samsung Galaxy S7. It's very capable, very ahead of its time, and it's got a 14nm construction. So it's quad core. And let's go ahead and run a Geekbench to see the score. Officially, the iPhone 6s is above it in the single core score. When it comes to multi-core score, it's not far behind. That is very, very surprising to me. Now, single core score arguably is the more important one because it's what's utilized by many applications that don't necessarily need multi-cores to run. So running some basic applications, we can see that the iPhone loads them faster in almost every single test, and not just by a little bit, by a long shot. Now this actually matters, especially for smaller apps like Snapchat and Instagram. Loading those faster does make a bigger difference through your day-to-day life. And I did run Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, so this is a very intensive, very heavy game, and the iPhone 6s was first to load it as well. So after this, I decided let's go ahead and run a Safari loading test just to get a little feel for it. So I went ahead and loaded Reddit. The iPhone 6s basically loaded it instantaneously. And then CNN, the iPhone did load that faster as well. So very, very good results. Next up, I did test the graphical performance using GFX Bench using the same tests. The iPhone 6s kicked ass in almost every single test. But why is this? Because the iPhone does have less pixels to push. Having a quad HD display on the HTC 10 means that does take away from performance, especially in games, more intensive stuff. So no wonder the iPhone 6s has better results, but the HTC 10 isn't far behind. So there's that. An area where the HTC 10 made no compromises is in the battery. This thing has a massive battery, bigger than the iPhone 6s Plus, almost double that of the iPhone 6s, and it certainly reflects in the standby and 3G talk scores. Not only that, it has Quick Charge 3.0, so it has a massive battery, but when it comes to wireless, it's actually extremely similar to the iPhone 6s. Both have Cat9 speeds when it comes to LTE. However, the iPhone 6s has way more LTE bands, making it a better international travel phone. Overall, very, very similar here. And a couple of various tests. So I wanted to test things like heat output, speaker output, as well as fingerprint speeds. Now, when it comes to heat output, the HTC 10 actually runs quite hot. This is after 10 minutes loading GFX Bench, about 99 degrees on its hottest point. The iPhone 6s with the same test, same method, was about 96 degrees. Certainly more tolerable. Next, I tested the speakers. HTC has had a long history of putting a lot of effort into their speakers, even a partnership with Beats. This time around, I was a little bit disappointed. It has boom sound, but it wasn't loud. The quality was good, certainly, but 85.2 decibels max, that was a little bit unexpected. The iPhone 6s had much higher at 91 decibels with a more reaching sound. It was very deep. So next up, fingerprint sensor speeds. I do like the fact that it's flush on the HTC, the home button. It's not actually a home button, it's capacitive. But anyways, with displays off, the HTC 10 was much faster. I'd say double the speed of the iPhone 6s. And this is mostly due to the fact that the iPhone 6s has such a long, drawn-out animation. With a screen on, I did the same test even slower. So I certainly think Apple should make some changes to the animations in the upcoming iOS 10. Alright, so it's time to take a look at cameras. For HTC, they've had a pretty disappointing camera lineup. In the past, it's been up and down, so let's hope this time around it did get better. Both are spec'd at 12 megapixels. The HTC does use a laser focus, whereas the iPhone uses phase detection focus pixels. Both are good, however, laser is said to be the future of focus. But anyways, putting them side by side at 1080p in order to utilize the optical image stabilization, the HTC 10 was certainly more stable. The iPhone 6s does not get this feature. It's reserved exclusively for the iPhone 6s Plus. The video is oversaturated on the HTC 10, I would say. I mean, look at the colors. The iPhone 6s is long known for its true-to-life colors, whereas on the HTC 10, they are so, saturated. It doesn't look real life. When it comes to focus, though, the focus is much better than the iPhone. It's instant, whereas on the iPhone 6s, it's still good. It just takes a moment for it to realize what's going on and focus on the subject. The winner of the focus war certainly is the HTC 10. Color-wise, the iPhone 6s has more true-to-life color. Quality-wise, both are good. These are same 12 megapixel sensors, however, the aperture is slightly better on the 10. It's really hard to say which one is the better phone when it comes to camera quality. Both are very similar, but the HTC 10 is better spec'd with features. It even has optical image stabilization on the front-facing camera. That is ridiculous, but awesome to have. Alright, so I just wanted to get kind of a interesting contrast between light and darkness. And as you can see, the iPhone certainly does better in low light. I don't know why I have this shadow on my face with the HTC, but I do love the wide angle lens. I do love the stabilization. I'm actually going to go for a walk right now, just so you guys can see that it's stabilized a lot better on the HTC. It's raining. That's Washington for you. So I'd certainly say the quality of the front-facing camera is better on the iPhone 6s. And lastly, storage and pricing. The iPhone 6s is expensive, and going up between storage sizes makes it even more expensive. The HTC 10 is certainly more value for your money because you can upgrade your storage yourself, up to 200 gigabytes. That is awesome. These phones each have their own merits, their own pluses, their own downs, and I made a quick list, just, my little opinion of what's better on each phone. Obviously, you're watching my review, so I'm giving you my own opinion, but I'm trying to keep it as objective as possible. The iPhone 6s is a great phone, but when it comes to getting the most for your money, the HTC 10 certainly does give you a lot. Optical image stabilization, something that's reserved for more higher end phones, you get on the HTC 10. I think the fact that you can get such a huge battery and quick charge 3.0 in the HTC 10 is mad. It is the future today. Both are great phones, both run their own operating systems. The HTC 10 has its own skin, and really it all comes down to what you need out of a smartphone. I cannot tell you which one is the better choice for you, but I hope watching this video made that choice a little bit easier. The HTC 10, I love the fact that HTC is thinking outside the box, adding a lot of things you need inside of it, but it really doesn't do anything crazy. The iPhone 6s takes a bold move with 3D touch and live photos, but it's not something you need just yet. It's like I said, ups and downs with each phone. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. Have a great day. Peace.